They say if you want to stay slim, you have to fight your body for it. Sweat until your lungs burn. Count every calorie. Turn every meal into math and every mirror into a trial. But the body is older than the modern world. Older than treadmills, fitness apps, and the endless theater of self-optimization. For most of human history, people stayed lean not because they were obsessed with weight, but because their lives moved in rhythms the body understood. They walked without calling it cardio. They ate slowly because life was not a race. They slept in darkness. They stopped eating when the sun disappeared. They built meals from foods that carried weight in the hand, but lightness in the body. Maybe that is the truth modern life keeps bearing beneath noise. The body does not always need intensity. Sometimes it needs remembrance. Tonight, this is what we explore. 5 ancient habits that quietly shape appetite, blood sugar, energy balance, and body weight, without turning health into punishment. Move like it's natural. The first habit is almost too ordinary to be respected. Walking, standing, climbing, carrying, pacing while thinking, moving after meals, living in a body that does not remain still for too long. Modern life made movement theatrical. It gave it uniforms, memberships, mirrors, metrics. But the human body was not designed to move only inside scheduled suffering. It was designed for low, frequent, almost invisible motion. Science has a name for this now: non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or NEAT. It refers to the energy you burn doing everything that is not sleeping, eating, or deliberate exercise, and it matters more than many people realize. Low NEAT is associated with obesity, while a more physically active daily life can quietly shift energy expenditure over time. Source: that is why ancient life protected leanness in ways modern life often does not. Not because the past was magical, but because movement was woven into existence. You walked to get water. You stood to cook. You bent, lifted, reached, gathered. The body was not parked all day and then shocked awake for one punishing hour. Even a walk after meals carries a quiet intelligence. Research shows post-meal walking can improve glucose response, especially when done soon after eating. A small movement, a real effect. Source: so perhaps the body stays lighter not only when it is pushed hard, but when it is rarely abandoned. Eat slowly enough to hear fullness. The second habit is one modern life almost humiliates. One, eating slowly, not because it looks disciplined, not because it feels productive, but because the body speaks softly and satiety arrives like distant thunder, not all at once, but gradually rolling in. Fast eating belongs to a culture of urgency, a world where meals are interruptions instead of rituals, where people eat while scrolling, driving, working, recovering, escaping. The hand keeps moving, but the mind never arrives. And when the mind does not arrive, fullness often arrives too late. Research has repeatedly linked faster eating with excess body weight and obesity risk. Slower eating is also associated with lower food intake in experimental settings. In other words, pace is not just etiquette, it is metabolism meeting awareness. Source. This is the deeper tragedy of rushed eating. It turns nourishment into erosion. Thus you consume but do not receive. You finish but do not feel finished. And then you wonder why the body still asks for more. Ancient meals were not always abundant, but they were often slower. There was chewing, pausing, serving, waiting, sharing. The nervous system had time to descend from survival into digestion. The body could register what the mouth already knew. To eat slowly is not a trick. It is a reunion between appetite and attention, between the stomach and the self, between enough and the ability to notice it. Build meals from foods that hold you. The third habit is less glamorous than the modern imagination prefers. Eat food that actually stays with you. Beans, lentils, chickpeas, oats, vegetables, whole grains. The kinds of foods that do not arrive with marketing language, but with density, texture, and time. Foods that move through the body like a steady river, not a flash flood. There is something almost ancient about fiber. It slows, it swells, it lingers. It creates a feeling many modern diets quietly destroy: Satisfaction. Research has long associated higher fiber intake with lower body weight, and systematic reviews suggest fiber can support satiety and lower food intake in many contexts. Legumes, too, have been linked with weight management benefits and greater fullness. Source. And yet modern culture often chases the opposite. Foods engineered to disappear quickly. Soft foods, hyper-palatable foods, foods that melt before your body has time to negotiate with them. They flood the senses, then vanish, leaving behind cravings like ash after fire. But ancient tables were built from sturdier things. Pulses, grains, roots, greens. Food that asked you to chew. Food that entered the bloodstream slowly. Food that made hunger less dramatic. This is one of the quietest ways people stayed slim before the age of diet culture. They ate meals that did not keep reopening the appetite. Not perfect meals, not pure meals, just meals with gravity. And maybe that is what the body has been asking for all along. Not less food, but food with enough substance to let the hunger settle. Eat earlier, not endlessly. The fourth habit is not only about what you eat, it is about when. The body keeps time, even when you don't. Cells follow light. Hormones follow darkness. Metabolism shifts across the day like a tide. But modern life treats the body as if midnight were no different from morning, as if digestion had no circadian language, and as if the clock on the wall means nothing to the organs beneath your skin. And yet it does. Later eating patterns are associated with obesity and metabolic disruption, while earlier time-restricted eating has shown promising effects on body weight and metabolic health in adults. Experimental research also suggests late dinners can alter metabolism in ways that may reduce fat oxidation. Source. This does not mean the body is fragile. It means the body is rhythmic. Ancient people did not speak in the language of circadian biology, but many of them lived close enough to daylight to obey it without naming it. They ate earlier because the world itself was closing. Darkness was a boundary. Night was not an extension of appetite. Modern life erased that boundary. The kitchen glows at midnight. Much screens trick the brain into wakefulness. Stress delays dinner. Loneliness invites second dinners. And slowly the body loses the comfort of timing. To eat earlier is not a trend. It is a form of alignment, a way of telling the body, you are not lost in endless light. You may rest now. You may digest now. You may stop carrying the day into the night. Protect the night. The fifth habit is the one most people underestimate because it looks passive. Sleep. Not heroic sleep. Not optimized sleep. Just deep, consistent, protected sleep. There is a reason exhaustion and weight gain so often travel together. A tired body is not weak. It is simply more vulnerable to hunger, impulse, irregular timing, emotional eating, and the quiet chemistry of survival. When sleep erodes, appetite often becomes louder. Cravings grow sharper. And restraint grows thinner. Systematic reviews in adults have linked short sleep duration with higher obesity risk. And broader research connects insufficient sleep and circadian misalignment with disruptions in appetite hormones and metabolic regulation. Source. This is why ancient leanness was never only about food. It was also about darkness, about evenings that ended, about nervous systems that were not flooded with stimulation until midnight, about bodies allowed to complete the cycle. Sleep is where repair happens quietly, where cravings are softened before they become urgent, where the body is no longer chased by stress long enough to remember equilibrium. Sometimes people say they have no discipline around food, but often what they really have is a nervous system running on fumes. And a starved nervous system will ask the body for relief in the only language it knows. So here they are. 5 old habits. Move often. Eat slowly. Choose foods with substance. Eat earlier. Protect sleep. None of them are flashy. None of them sell well. None of them flatter the modern ego because they do not promise transformation through violence. They promise something quieter. Cooperation. And maybe that is the forgotten secret. The body often stays slimmer when life stops fighting it, when movement is ordinary, when meals are slow, when hunger is answered with real food, when night is allowed to become night. If this reflection felt familiar, if some tired part of you felt relieved by the idea that health does not have to be punishment, you are not alone. If you'd like to stay connected, this is a place where body, mind, and the hidden rhythms beneath everyday life are explored gently.